Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast, the Project Investigation Collaboration, the podcast brought to you by the Veritas Project. And as always, we are here with our gracious host, the founder of the Veritas Project, Robert Curtis.
Hello.
And I am lead investigator for the Veritas Project, Todd Boyer. And welcome.
Welcome.
Happy Sunday. We always record these on Sunday. You guys see them on Monday.
Yep.
Today, we're going to be talking about the Fae.
Yep.
And like mushroom circles and their significance in the lore of the Fae. And I see a lot of those. So.
Right.
And you guys are going to see pictures that I've taken of those as we go through the podcast here and talk about it. So this is one of those, and it's something that I meant to look up and I didn't. There was actually a really good story about this lady it was a movie, a lady who photographed Fae back in the day, photographed fairies and whatnot, and they're actually really well-known pictures, and I forgot to look that up. So let's dip into the fairy mushroom rings.
Right, fairy rings.
So fairy rings occur when fungus grow underground and send out mycelium, the network of fungal threads, in a circular pattern. And over time, the mushroom sprouts at the edge of this mycelium, forming a ring.
Right.
And the ones I've seen here lately are like 8-10 feet across.
Yeah.
With massive, massive heads.
Right.
And as the mycelium exhausts the nutrients in the center, it spreads outward, causing the ring to expand. That's the scientific explanation.
Right.
So, and like I said, we will absolutely throw some pictures in there because I have seen some fantastic ones here lately.
Yeah.
And I've got one that it's 4 that Bob will be showing you here shortly, that it's 4 mushrooms together, and they were all about the size of a saucer. And I have my hand right down to them. And I don't have a small paw either, you know. But they are just massive for, I put my hand down there for size. So
Nice.
So the lore behind them is basically it's a meeting place for fairies.
Right.
Right. So European folklore, especially Celtic traditions, fairy rings are believed to be places where fairies gather to dance and celebrate. And humans entering these rings might be blessed or cursed depending on the fairy's disposition.
Right.
And it's funny because I don't walk in them, I walk around them.
Right.
So maybe I need to start walking in them and see what happens. Thank you for the corn. It's corn. It's a big lump of knobs. It has the juice. It has the juice.
There's a funny meme that I'll put in right here. And it's a person who finds a fairy ring, and then they jump in the middle of it, and they're like, "Let me in, damn it."
Nice. Trying to get into the fairy world. Right. Which goes into our next one, which is portals to the fairy world.
Exactly.
So some legends suggest that the fairy rings are portals to the fairy realm, and stepping into a ring can transport a person to another world where time flows differently. So not linear, kind of all over, so that'd be kind of nice.
Right.
Who wouldn't want to go somewhere else besides this place?
If it goes back to the 80s, I'm all in. I'm all about it.
Heck yeah. So it's also believed that they're bewitched areas. There are tales that consider fairy rings to be enchanted spots. Crops or grass within the ring might grow more lushly, but they might also be prone to withering mysteriously. Now, the withering mysteriously, I think that goes back to the nutrition.
Yeah, we're talking.
So
about
it would like suck the nutrition
Right.
out of the soil. So that would make it go back. So warnings and taboos.
Yeah.
So entering a fairy ring is often considered risky. Legends warn that those who step inside might become invisible to others, fall into a trance, or be unable to leave the circle without suffering consequences such as illness or misfortune.
Right.
So, and I know Bob is a huge fan of fairy circles.
Right.
So
they're really cool.
They're really great to see.
Yeah.
So in culture-wise, they're in art, literature, folklore, right? Shakespeare, A Midsummer Night's Dream, referenced fairy rings as part of the magical landscape.
Yeah.
Art, fairy rings are depicted in paintings and illustrations that explore themes of enchantment of supernatural, and some traditional dances and songs reference fairy rings, celebrating their mystical nature.
Right. Somebody asked if you could fall into another dimension,
Well, that's one of the beliefs. Is it's a portal to a fairy realm. So
and they grow the mushrooms around the edge so that they can mark where the fairy ring is or where their portal is. That's the folklore behind it.
Mm-hmm. So in modern interpretation, while scientific understanding of fairy rings has demystified their formation, the enchanting stories and the cultural significance remain strong. And they continue to captivate the imagination, blending natural phenomenon with the lure of mystical and the unknown. And like I said, I've got a bunch of them, and I'm going to be throwing those to Bob. I've got some really great pictures. I was telling Bob, I was driving along the road, and I look over, and I could see this massive mushroom ring. Went down the road, pulled over, went back, and actually asked the homeowner, "Hey, do you mind if I go take pictures of your mushroom circle?" And they're like, "Yeah, okay." So I went out and snapped a few pictures because I knew we had this podcast coming up. So, in summary on the fairy rings, they're fascinating scientifically and culturally. I mean, they symbolize the intersection of nature and myth, where the natural growth of the fungi meets the enchanting world of the fae.
Yeah.
And that's just, we wanted to touch on fairy rings, and now we're actually going to get into the folklore of the fae.
Yeah.
And this comes from many different cultures. The fae are everywhere.
Yeah, it's weird that so many different disparate cultures would have the same mythology.
It's the same as we always talk about with dragons. Like all the different cultures in the world have dragons.
Yep.
Mexico did float around the sugar cubes in the center, and you could see the tiny footprints. That's cool.
Ah.
So, Celtic fairy lore. So let's start with that. It starts in Celtic mythology, often associated with nature and elements like water and trees, and they believed to inhabit the other world, the mystical realm, frequently depicted as small human-like beings with magical abilities. Stories often involved interactions with human, both benevolent and malevolent.
Yeah.
So, and the funny thing is with the different lore too, is they're different sizes. Like some depict them as like 2-3 inches high, and others pick 6 to 8 inches
like a foot high. Yeah. Depending on what culture you're talking about. Yep. And some of them even are so small they live inside of the mushroom, so they're toadstools, right?
So, fairies in Irish mythology, known as AOC, people of the mounds.
Yep.
They're associated with ancient burial mounds and natural landmarks, often considered descendants of the Tuatha De Danann. Tuatha De Danann. And Bob and I practiced these beforehand. That's the sad thing.
We tried.
Like, we read these through and okay, we're going to say these wrong.
It's going to be a Celtic thing, so we're going to have to sit down and read them out loud for a
we
couple
did
times.
And I still screwed it up. That's okay. So Tuatha De Danann, Danann, mythical race, so believed to live parallel to the human world in hidden realms, and tales often involve fairy courts, changelings, and enchanted places.
Right.
There's a lot of mythology that the fairies lure in children.
Right.
In the darker, if you're sliding to the darker end of it, they lure in children to take them away and turn them into fairies.
Right, in the forest.
In the forest.
Woods,
so, so the Scottish fairies, they have evil Jedi. They're known as the Sith and Galilaic. Divided into Sili, which is benevolent, and Unsili, which is malevolent, courts, common in stories involving fairy hills. And then fairies often depicted as guardians of nature. Many tales include warning about the dangers of angering fairies. And that's like a big thing that kind of covers everything, is they always talk about how the fairies, they actually are guardians of the forest.
Right.
And they speak with the animals, and they take care of the animals, And everybody knows the most famous Disney, fairy.
Right.
So
Tinkerbell.
Tinkerbell.
The myth of the Seelies is kind of cool, because a benevolent Seelie will show you things that don't belong in the forest, so that you can take them with you, like gold or jewels or something like that, because they don't like human things in their space. So a Seelie is like a ghost light.
Right.
And it'll find you and then lead you through the woods to find like treasure or something that's in the woods and they don't want. But then there are also the unseelies that will lead you to a Fey trap. So,
right. So you got to watch what you're doing.
Go in this cave real quick. I want to show you something.
So, thank you, Angela, for the corn. It's corn. It's a big lump of knobs. It has the juice. It has the juice. So, I think you need to sing, Bob. All that corn's going to you, brother.
Yay! It's corn. It's a big lump with knobs. It has the juice. What do you say? When I tried it with the... What do you say?
When I tried with butter, it changed everything.
That's what it is. When I tried it with butter, it changed everything.
So, let's dip into the English lore.
Yeah.
Okay, so prominent in medieval and Renaissance literature, Shakespeare, Midsummer Night's Dream, which we talked about earlier, features famous fairy characters. Mm-hmm. You know, they're associated with woodland and rural landscapes, often portrayed as mischievous and playful beings, right. And they're linked to various local legends and the fairy ring mushroom circles. So, and then, I mean, they're all over. So, like, we still got Scandinavia and, you know, Teutonic and French and Slavic and Greek and Roman mythology.
Yeah.
So they're all over the place. Once again, this is a situation where every culture in the world has
a version of it.
Has a version of it.
They're all similar.
So how do you explain that every culture in the world has this similar explanation of fairies without there being something? You know,
right. It doesn't make sense, does it? That like, let's say somebody who lived all the way in Greece would have the same mythology as somebody who lives in Ireland.
Right.
You know, like it's not like far away, but there's so much landscape in between those two cultures, you know, seas and mountains, and it's unlikely that they would have the same mythos
right.
that far apart.
So let's get into Norse and Scandinavian, where they're actually known as elves or Huldufólk, which is hidden people.
Yeah, that was a good one. Nailed it.
Nailed it. They're believed to be spirits of nature and ancestors, and often depicted as tall, ethereal beings with magical powers. Inhabited natural forests like natural features like rocks and forests. And folk talk includes themes of protection, retribution, by these beings.
Right.
So once again, protecting what is out there in the forest and the rocks, and protective of everybody.
So like if you went into the woods to like clear logs, to get logs for your house or firewood or whatever, and you just clear cut a whole section, they would come after you.
Yeah.
But if you went and tended to the forest, you know, you took the down trees or the sick trees or things like that, then you would be rewarded by them. That's what they're saying.
So Germanic and Teutonic, so also known as elves or Alfar, believed to be spirits of fertility and nature, often depicted as beautiful ethereal beings. Stories involve both helpful and harmful interactions with humans. So folktales include themes of treasure, protection, and revenge, and that goes back to what you were saying about, you know, them leading people to treasure and whatnot. So, but then we have the French. Now, the French, known as the Fées, F-E-E-S, in French folklore, they're popularized in literary tales by authors like Charles Perrault, often portrayed as beautiful, benevolent godmothers. Tales often involve magical gifts and curses. You know, stories include famous characters like the fairy godmother and Cinderella.
Yeah.
So, you know, or you have the fairies like in Fairly Odd Parents. That's the kind of fairies I want.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you guys have heard. Have you heard that? Like in Fairly Odd Parents, Timmy was only supposed to keep his fairies for so many years, but he wished that he could be a kid forever, and then had the fairies erase their minds. And he's been a kid for 57 years. That was in an episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, kind of wild.
Yeah. That's like Adventure Time.
Yeah.
You watch Adventure Time. They have a lot of weird, or not like weird, but they have a lot of really deep backstory, and you think on the surface level, it's just
a kid show. Yeah.
Yeah, but it goes into some weird places sometimes.
Robin says she stopped at a gas station.
Yeah.
So she must be listening while she's on the road. So let's do Slavic fairy folklore. Yeah. Known as Vila or Rusalki in different regions. Often depicted as beautiful maidens with enchanting voices. Associated with water bodies like rivers and lakes. Tales involve themes of seduction, revenge, and protection, believed to be spirits of nature or deceased maidens. Yeah. Now that could almost fall into the siren category.
Yeah.
You know, right. with the bodies of water luring people in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, these things can cross over depending on the different regions. So, so that could be fae, but then the, you know, sailors you call them sirens. So
there's a myth in Mexico like that of a woman that lures children into the lake or rivers. They won't let kids go alone by the river.
And I know a lot of places they don't let the kids go. Yeah, a lot of different cultures do, actually. I'm going to cover that. So a lot of different cultures have the, you know, different fae. That's part of what we were talking about earlier. It's all these cultures around the world have fairies, and how do they all have fairies that are similar?
Right.
You know, so it's just an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah.
So now Greek and Roman mythology, they're known as nymphs.
Yeah.
Okay. And associated with various natural features like rivers, mountains, and trees. They're divided into different types like dryads, tree nymphs, naiads, or water nymphs. And they're often depicted as beautiful immortal maidens. And stories often involve interactions with gods and mortals.
Yeah.
So, once again, back to a whole nother different explanation. You know, what's funny is how, like, the tree nymphs, like the treants, right, carry over into, like, Lord of the Rings and things like that. So, I wonder if they would be considered, if treants would be considered fae.
Yeah, probably.
So, and then modern interpretation of fairies, popularization in Victorian literature and art.
Yeah.
They're depicted as small winged beings in children's stories. And then J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan, obviously featuring Tinkerbell. And then modern fantasy literature often include fairies with diverse characteristics. Contemporary beliefs blend traditional folklore with New Age spirituality.
Right.
So, I mean, everything does have to go along. So, you know, this is one I know Bob's been wanting to do this one for a while.
Yeah.
Because it is such an interesting topic. And, you know, we always encourage you guys to, you know, we always say we dip our toe in, and then we encourage you guys to do more research.
Right.
You know, we just want to get you interested in it.
Yeah, to bring about the topic and then let you kind of pique your curiosity and go on your own journey of discovering it yourself, basically. So I don't want to tell you how to think.
Right. You know, we believe in free thinking and creativity, and you know, we want you guys to come up with your own theories on this kind of stuff. But this is one thing that always Bob and I discuss, is how many different cultures have the same thing, and they're literally on the opposite ends of the world.
Yeah.
You know, or the opposite ends of the disc, however you want to look at it. It's up to you. But, you know, if these people 2,000 miles away are writing about fae, and it's the same thing as these people over here.
The same description.
You know, same description, same, you know, everything. So it's just interesting.
Yeah, it's weird that people would discount it, you know, and say, well, that's just, you know, folklore or whatever. But
well, how did it get there? You know, how come they got it? How come they got it? Yeah. Right.
You have depictions of little, you know, mischievous creatures in Egyptian stone carvings, right? But then you also have that same sort of story being told in Native American culture. And
I mean, it can also boil down to different, you know, like different species.
Right, exactly.
So, you know, each culture could be right. You know, this is what they had in their area. This could be what they had in their area.
Or it could be their interaction with it was benevolent. So they say that the fairies are positive, whereas the fairy who interacted with these people was
negative because they treated it like crap.
Right.
So that is a look at the Fae.
Yeah.
And like I said, we want you guys to dig in a little deeper and check it out.
Right.
So an update on the first annual meet and greet. We are literally just over 2 weeks out.
Yep.
Just over 2 weeks out. We still have 4 slots available. We thought we'd gotten rid of another 2, but they came back and said they couldn't make it.
Yeah.
They wanted to come, but
they found out it was on a Tuesday.
yeah.
So
we still have 4 slots available. You know, you said you had that person that would, if they were younger, they could come with somebody or whatever. Throw it out there. You know, I'm down with it if they're, you know, because we fill up these slots. We'll do what we can.
Right.
So for all those who are new, Bob and I are having our first annual meet and greet on August 20th. We need a caption with info in the corner. Yeah. But our first annual meet and greet is August 20th. And we have rented every room in the Lemp Mansion in St. Louis. And it is one of the top most haunted places in the country. If you do a list of top 20 most haunted places in the country, it is always in the top 20. And most of the time it's in the top 10.
Yeah.
So, excuse me, we have rented every room, and it's $110 a person, and we are not making any money on this whatsoever.
Yeah.
In fact, even if we get every room full, we're actually going to lose a little money because we're buying some pizzas and some other stuff. So we're not making anything on this.
Yeah.
So it's August 20th. We're going to meet at 11 o'clock at the Cahokia Mounds. Which is one of the lost civilizations of the United States, actually. So if you want to go back and check out our podcast on the Cahokia Mountains, actually our 4th podcast, way back last year, we talked about the lost civilization of the Cahokia Indians or the Missouri River people, however you want to talk about it. So we're going to meet over there, explore around there for about an hour and a half or so. Then we're going to go to, do you want to go Fairmont City or do you want to go to Collinsville?
Go to Collinsville.
Okay, so we'll go to Collinsville. Go to Collinsville, eat some Mexican food, and then 3 o'clock is check-in at the Lemp Mansion, which we will then go live with a Q&A for about a half hour, and we will record that for a future podcast. And then I figure maybe give a tour of the Lemp Mansion, order pizzas about that time, give a tour of the Lemp Mansion. You know, everybody's coming, bring $5 so we can kick in for Domino's. And we'll order a bunch of pizza from Domino's, and then we'll order a large cheese from Emo's, along with some toasted ravioli, and then we're going to have to bring a gooey butter cake. So all St. Louis things, and we have Ski, which the soda is actually right over there. The Ski soda that Excel Bottling Company donated to us, and everybody will be able to take that home. And I was thinking about grabbing a couple of cases of Ski. Just so that you guys can take your 6-pack home. Because there are limited edition. In every 6-pack is 2 bottles of Eclipse Cherry, which is limited edition. They only made it during the eclipse this past year. And I do believe that the labels are actually glow in the dark.
Right.
So
yeah, that's pretty neat.
And you get stickers too. So after all that, after we have some dinner and whatnot, then Bob and I will give you guys a tour of the Lemp Mansion, which is... Bob and I have given hundreds of tours out of there. You know, I gave several a night, a couple nights a week for over a year. And then Bob, I don't know how many Bob's given out of there. I mean, just
hundreds. I'm gonna set up my spirit box there, which has really good results in that location. So it's a device that they have seen before. So
we should get some good stuff off
really
there.
Good results.
You want to set that up in the main dining room, or were you going to set that up?
Usually.
Or the upstairs, the upstairs room,
back room. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll have the run of if there is nothing going on in the mansion that night, then at 3 o'clock when they hand us the keys, they leave.
Yeah.
We will literally be the only ones in the Lemp Mansion. There's no staff. They leave. We will have keys to the doors. So it is ours to investigate until we get tired and go to bed. So if we go to bed.
Yeah, the whole idea behind this was that whenever we go to investigate a haunted location or do one of the overnight things where you buy a room and a bed and breakfast in it, there's always somebody there who makes it their business to ruin the entire evening for every other person in the building. They're loud, they're annoying, they're watching the Instagram, they're talking, they couldn't care less that they're even in the building. They make it their existence to annoy everyone else. So we decided that we would rent the entire building and then only rent it out to our people. Mm-hmm. So you won't have to worry about somebody's annoying kid playing their Switch or whatever, and they just could not care less that they're in the most haunted place in America. They just want to play the Minecraft and cry about how bored they are. That won't happen. So it'll probably be like the only chance that you get to be in one of the most haunted locations without having annoying people who are just there to bother you.
No alcohol involved.
Right.
Like, we're not having drinks. This is going to be a legit, we're going to show you guys Paranormal Investigation 101. And when we get through, you guys will be confident in your ability to go out and do your own investigation.
Yeah.
We will have a list of things that we recommend you pick up, like EMF detector. I know Bob has an EMF detector on his TikTok shop.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
If it's still there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm having problems with TikTok right now.
Oh, are you? So, EMF detector and your phone. I mean, it's really, maybe some trigger devices. Go to Dollar Tree, buy a couple little toys or whatever.
Or the little cat
toys.
Little
cat toys, whatever. You can get those on Amazon. And you have them delivered in less than a week, so you'll have them before you get here. So we are literally just over 2 weeks out from that. So if you guys are interested, shoot Bob a message on here. Shoot me a message on here. Yeah. We hope you guys really enjoyed our podcast today on the Fae. Sorry we had to give that update at the end there about, but the first annual meet and greet is coming up, and with a quickness it's coming up. So, we were talking about maybe lunch the next day.
Okay.
I don't know what time you got to work. Don't you work on Wednesday?
I'm thinking of taking the day off.
Oh,
if we don't have anything going on, I'm going to take the day off.
Right on. So, I was thinking, we could do lunch, and I know some of us are going to get tattoos on Wednesday, too. So, we're going to get ghost tattoos. So, thank you for joining us on the Fae. Check us out on all the social medias, RS Curtis and the Veritas Project. Mm-hmm. And I'm Investigator Todd on everything. And, at the end of the podcast, you'll see our emails, which is, the Patreon for sure. Become a Patreon member, guys.
That don't cost nothing.
It doesn't cost anything, but if you are a paid member, we send you a postcard every month.
Yep.
And, there's a few extra things maybe thrown in along with that. So, if you're one of the paid members. So, my email is investigator.todd.paranormal@gmail, and Bob's is the Real Veritas Project at Gmail. And if you're looking for us on YouTube, for all you guys watching on TikTok, if you type in Project Investigation Collaboration, we'll pop right up. Yep. Check out some of our past videos. Make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe. Turn on those notifications. And, remember,
stay curious.
And find the truth, and we'll catch you guys next week on the Veritas Project. Bye, everybody.
See ya.